Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our Formweb in 15 Minutes webinar. Today we are speaking about accreditation readiness, part 1. As you can guess, this is a pretty meaty topic, so we've decided we need two 15-minute sessions to cover everything that we want to talk about. So my name is Caroline McBreen. I'm joined by Charlene Kristen, our Customer Success Director. And again, today we're going to talk about accreditation readiness, so let's get into it. Okay, Charlene, so as everyone can see, Laura was not able to join us today, so I'm going to be your co-presenter. So I would like to kick it off by asking you a question. You are oftentimes our clients' go-to person when they hear code J, which is the code that we hear some of our clients have for, uh-oh, Joint Commission is coming, time to get ready. And a lot of clients, the screen that Charlene is sharing that you all can see, a lot of our clients on their form websites have a Joint Commission page. So when an inspector, CMS or Joint Commission or your state board of pharmacy, when they come in, you have everything in one place. So, Charlene, I would like to hear you speak to this page, and I'd also like to get your input on one piece of feedback that we get from a lot of clients is oftentimes how accreditors or inspectors come in is they start with a tracer drug. So they start with a bacovir or acetaminophen and they go to the staff and they test the staff knowledge and if they know how to access that information. And I'd like to get your input on, is this the solution that a lot of our clients use for that tracer drug approach?
Yes, a lot of times they want to make sure that the clinician or the practitioner, mainly the nurse providing care, has information to everything they need to safely order, administer, and everything about this drug, the tracer drug. So what we see here is they've listed some things that have to be ready. And I said nursing, but it also starts with the provider ordering the drug. So the tracer drug will go from the provider ordering it to the discontinuation of that drug. So all the way through, from pharmacy to nursing, administering the drug, everything. And everybody needs to have access to the information for safety. So primarily, we're looking at the high alert list. We want to make sure that the nurse can see whether or not this drug is on their high alert list. This is an example of what a high alert list looks like, and they could just look on the list and see if that drug is on that list. Then if they chose to look at a drug individually, they could see that information right on that drug as well. So they could look directly on that drug. The other thing that they might want to know is what type of action are they going to take on that, and what kind of drugs would be necessary to put on. Pharmacy wants to know what kind of drugs are necessary to put on that list. Well, there's a thing called the Unlucky 13 list. And the Unlucky 13 list is basically a high alert list, but it groups these drugs by class. So you've got your adrenergic agonist IV drugs. Those are on there, and it kind of gives you the guidelines surrounding these drugs. It's, pre-filled syringes, pre-mixed drugs. Pharmacy needs to have some sort of competency certification, and if that drug is in the crash cart, there needs to be instructions in the crash cart for that drug. So this is just like an action grid for those items, and saying that this is how we need to make sure everything is there. Then, of course, everybody or a lot of people use the ISMP high alert medication list, and most of the time that is easily accessible on ISMP. And then we go to the lookalike soundalike. We want to make sure that every area has their own lookalike soundalike list. This is not a requirement, but I mean, it lessens the list for people like wound care. They don't need to see all the cardiac high alert medications. They want to see the medications that they primarily use in their areas. So it's good to have a separate list for those individual areas. Then as far as the lookalike soundalike, you want to make sure you have tall man lettering on those. And our Formweb comes with tall man lettering. This is the ISMP list of confused drug names. And if you'll notice on that, there's the tall man lettering recommendations on that. So just to make sure that you have covered that base. And then there's an action grid for those as well. So it kind of tells you how to manage those items. So
do a lot of our clients link to this documentation in Formweb?
No, they look at this information and just try to make sure that they're covering all these bases.
Okay.
In their documentation.
Okay.
So then we've got the do not crush list. Mm-hmm. And the do not crush list, this particular one is comes from the pharmacist newsletter. We just found that it's a pretty good complete list, and it gives you information about why the drug is on the do not crush list, because like this particular one, because it modifies the release state of that drug. So it's more than likely this is an extended release, and once you split it or crush it, then you've modified the release state of that drug. And of course, some of them are they're hazardous, and it's just recommended that you don't crush them. Another thing is that they will want to know is, show me your list of unapproved abbreviations. And this again is ISMP, and it just lists all these abbreviations that are recommended that you don't use, and what their intended meaning is, and what the misinterpretation can be if you were to use those abbreviations. So they just suggest that you don't use those. And then of course they want to make sure that you have black box warnings readily accessible. And of course we have a black box site that comes with all of our suite of different software applications. So when you click on that, it's just, like I said, it's just black box warnings, and you could pick one and it goes directly to that black box information. And then for that as well, there's a black box warning listing, and within Formweb that has all that information readily available right there in Formweb. And if you were to click the link, it would go out to that black box site. So the information is all there. It's easy to get it organized and plugged in where you need to have it. And yeah, so if you need any help with that, also we have, if there are REMS on that drug, they're going to want to make sure that you have access to that information to be able to get to that REMS information quickly and as necessary. Incident reporting, they want to know how you report an adverse event and how you do that through Formweb. Many of our clients have that information up front and readily available on their sites.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so this is a view of, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, this is just a view of what it may look like if you were to put a link going directly to your adverse event reporting site. So if you did that on, like this particular one is there, and this one has it on their front menu. And this one, of course, is right at the top again. And this one is at the top again. So just put it up front in their face so they have it readily available. Some other things we thought about that it's not on, I don't think it's a standard, but they may ask about opioid stewardship and how you're handling that. Yeah, just call those things out on your form website and have that information readily available. They will definitely ask about patients' medication history, and they'll want to know how that gets followed through. So you just have steps regarding how that happens. This particular one, this can be in your policy, but it goes directly through how this facility gathers that information, what they do with that information, what the expectations and responsibilities are for pharmacy where that's related, and what pharmacy does with that information, what their review process is. So they're going to want to see that, and just make sure that you have that information readily available. If you did put types of policies such as opioid stewardship and med history review policy, put those in your file manager, and those can be set to be reviewed at certain increments, whether it be every year, every 3 years, whatever the standard is for your health system. And when those get reviewed, you just update that date, and then you're good to go for another 2 or 3 years. Anything else,
Great.
Caroline?
I think we touched on this for those of you who are new to this webinar series. We've touched on a lot of these in our previous webinars and done deep dives into, I know, biosimilars, restrictions. You can see the subformularies on this left side of the screen that Charlene has pointed out. So many of these our clients have decided to list as subformularies. So if an inspector came in and okay, what are all your do not crush drugs? What are all your look like, sound alike drugs? What are all your REMS drugs? You have the ability to pull that up and say, here they are. And if you haven't seen our other webinars on all of these topics, I encourage you to view them, because we deep dive into the actual drugs that are on these lists. And another webinar I'd like to point to for that audit trail, if you will, so you can monitor, okay, when was this policy last reviewed, is the first webinar we did. And that file manager of, you can see who authored a policy, when it was last approved, and maintain compliance that way. And it sounds like, as a recovering auditor myself, not in this space, people want to see that documentation, and this is really how people capture that. So I think this page looks great. I know a lot of our clients have this. Thank you for walking us through it, Charlene. This has been really, really helpful.
Absolutely. Just know that we're always here to help, and to get you where you feel comfortable knowing that you have the information that Joint Commission is going to ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, oftentimes when our clients have joint, I'm thinking of, I think it was last year, when our clients have Joint Commission coming in, Charlene gets an email, and I'm like, hey, help us get ready. And I also want to say, we have a blog I think I already mentioned the blog about, it's our most popular blog of the top Joint Commission inspection questions. I encourage all of you, we'll put the link here if you'd like to read that blog. I encourage you to read that. It's our most viewed blog. I think the original's from 2021 and it's still one of our most viewed. And I encourage all of you to read that. We also have a blog from one of our very innovative, brilliant clients. She made the decision to prepare for Joint Commission. All of these that you see here, the high alert, the look-alike, sound-alike, REMS drugs, she has flyers in all of her workrooms that have QR codes that link to the Formweb pages that these all tie to. So if you had someone come up to a nurse and say, where do you find all of your high alert drugs? She's got a flyer in every workroom, and you scan that QR code from whatever device you're on, and it takes you directly to their high alert drug list. So I think that's another cool way to do it if you want to make sure it is so in your face physically. I really love that she did that. I encourage y'all to also go read that blog. And we can also link that as well if you're interested in that. But Charlene, this has been so helpful. I really appreciate it. And we will talk to you all in our next session where we do part 2. Because again, this is a robust topic and we're going to talk about some other questions that Joint Commission comes in and asks. So thank you all. We look forward to seeing you in our next webinar.